It's a happy day in hell, at least if you're watching it on TV. And with Hazbin Hotel Season 2 wrapped up, we've had one hell of a good time watching it. Some characters grew for the better, some got worse, and others were just as twisted as we've come to know and love. So today, we're ranking every Hazbin Hotel Season 2 character from good to evil. As usual, spoiler warning.
Ew. No.
And just as a quick disclaimer, we won't be including Adam since while he does have a few cameos, they're only as hallucinations in Lute's mind.
I'm in your head. Guess you missed me that much, huh? You crazy bitch.
So let's start with the most pure-hearted characters and work our way down. These characters are the good. This season showed us a lot more of heaven, so we got to see some heroic faces, but the best of the bunch was the Speaker of God. While she doesn't have much screen time, the Speaker of God makes it pretty clear what she's all about. She watches over heaven and oversees important disputes, like, say, whether or not a certain serpentine sinner should be allowed to enter heaven. Unlike most of the other angels, however, the Speaker acknowledges fully that sinners can be redeemed. Hearing Penchas's honest story and wiping his tears, telling him he has nothing more to fear.
You have nothing left to fear here.
She's also patient with Lute's short temper and forgives Sarah for her poor judgment in allowing the exterminations to go on as long as they did. It makes sense that the Speaker is the most good character since she's the closest thing to, God that we've seen in the series. But that's not to say nobody gave her a run for her money. Emily takes home a close silver medal of good. She is a pure, sweet angel, both literally and figuratively. She takes it upon herself to make sure Penchas is having as good a time in heaven as possible, stands up for him in the presence of higher-ranking angels than herself, and plays a pivotal role in helping Charlie take down Vox and finally prove that sinners can be redeemed. While offering gift baskets to the victims of the exterminations was kind of tone-deaf, Emily's heart was always in the right place. Her devotion to protecting heaven and redeeming hell is something to be admired. It's particularly worth noting that when Vox's superweapon was about to blow up the Pride Ring, killing the entire cast in the explosion, Emily was the first one to start trying to pacify it. It spurred almost everyone on to join her, which earns her a lot of hero points for her inspiration and compassion. It also earns her a big thank you from the fan base, because if Emily died, many of them would probably have crashed out. Now, let's give the Bronze Medal of Good to our main man, Sir Penchas. First things first, we find out why Penchas originally went to hell this season. As a shut-in during his earthly life, he bore witness to the murders of several women, but never bothered to report them. It's bad, for sure, but not nearly as awful as someone could have been with the intellect to invent weapons of mass destruction.
Activate thrusters and charge the death ray.
With the past behind him, Penchas is in heaven, and we see throughout the season that he's definitely earned his spot up there. Penchas is one of the most wholeheartedly selfless characters in the series. He never stops thinking about his friends from the hotel, constantly trying to find ways to contact them and even playing a pivotal role in saving them, going as far as to invent a way to broadcast a speech all across hell, to tell them that redemption is possible. He also comes in clutch when hell declares war on heaven. He comforts his new friend Emily in her distress and shares some Charlie-esque power of friendship with Sarah to encourage her to do the right thing, and that it's never too late to start walking on the right path. Penchas's sincerity and kindness are on full display in the season. Always putting others above himself earns him a high spot on our list. Next up is Adam's successor, Abel. The furthest thing from his old man, Abel is a pretty chill guy, all things considered. Even if he doesn't really get much screen time, he's portrayed as a nice guy who wants to do the right thing. While he does get pushed around by Lute, and isn't very assertive for a guy commanding heaven's armies, it doesn't come off as cowardice to us. It's more like a young adult thrust into a position he wasn't made or prepared for.
What do you think we should do?
Oh, well, see, I don't much like confrontations, so...
But he is doing his best, and he managed to stop Lute from going ham on the demons during Curtain Call, which earns him some hero points in our book. But we can't forget about one of the best characters in the show, Fat Nuggets. Now, Fat Nuggets requires no justification for being this high up on our list. He's an innocent little guy, plain and simple. Sure, he's a bit rambunctious, as we saw from him eating a bunch of cherry bomb stuff, but at the end of the day, he's a good boy. Just don't leave your makeup around him and he won't cause you any trouble. Though, we will give him an affection and gluttony sinner medal for his unorthodox eating habits. Particularly makeup, tables, and husks and nuts. Come on, you know what I meant. Don't pollute his pure soul like that. Last season you knew her as Vaggie, but now it's time to talk about Vaggie. That's right, she dropped the E. Kinda underwhelming, but alright. Any points Vaggie would have lost for hiding her true identity in season 1, she regained and then some throughout this season. With Charlie overwhelmed, Vaggie quite literally runs the hotel throughout most of the season, and does a pretty stellar job. She always makes herself available to comfort Charlie, even when Charlie is either being reckless with her decisions and admittedly causing her a lot of trouble. When Charlie is at her lowest point, Vaggie hypes her up with a spontaneous love song, and in the season finale, she officially takes over the hotel so that Charlie can be in a role that better suits her. On that note, let's talk about Charlie. Look, we all love Charlie. She's a sweetheart, she always means well, yada yada yada, but man, did she cause a lot of trouble in this season. First things first, she invited the V's to her hotel, allowing them to slander her image. In her attempts to redeem Angel Dust in real time, she had Husk tied to the train track so that Angel could save him. Even though Charlie had a button to stop the train at any time if an emergency arose, so wouldn't that defeat any sense of urgency and nullify Angel's redemption? Then she went on the news with Katie Killjoy, who not only already disliked her but had connections with Vox, and therefore had every reason to slander her even further. We mean this in the nicest of ways, but Charlie has earned the Darwin Center Medal for her naivete in the season. Now, it's not that Charlie is stupid by any means, but her reckless optimism led to a lot of really bad choices. Thankfully, she actually acknowledges this. While Charlie makes some bad decisions throughout the season, she works alongside her friends in heaven to fix things. She goes above and beyond to apologize to Vaggie and Lucifer for losing her temper with them, risks her neck and her hotel to prove to hell that redemption is possible, risks her neck again to help Emily pacify Vox's exploding weapon, and ultimately passes management of the hotel to Vaggie, switching her role to that of head counselor. Charlie's arc in this season, in part, was about her realizing that she wasn't able to fix the mess from the last season by simply explaining herself. The pressure of the media wasn't something she was made to bear, and trying to handle it herself only led to more problems. But thankfully, she realized that and did what she could to make sure everyone at the hotel was able to be where they were meant to be. Unfortunately, she couldn't keep everyone where they were meant to be. Angel Dust had it rough this season. The guy was absolutely killing it in season 1, and his growth continued in season 2. Take the botched redemption attempt, for example. When he realized that Vox sabotaged Charlie's emergency stop switch, Angel jumped between Husk and the train, risking his life to save his friend. Angel has some issues, but he's literally willing to die for his friend, and even after all that, he isn't too angry at Charlie, acknowledging that she didn't mean it to end up like that. So why isn't he higher up? Well, it's revealed in the 6th episode of season 2 that Angel had been brainwashed from the beginning by Vox to stay at the hotel. He unknowingly leaked information to the V's to give them an upper hand.
You've been a wonderful spy for me, Angel Dust.
Was forced to publicly disown the Hazbin Hotel, and even began to strangle Cherry Bomb while the V's were in control. This was such a devastating reveal for Angel that even after being freed from Vox's control, he deliberately chose to go back to working for Valentino so that the hotel wouldn't be in danger. It's a heartbreaking scene, but one that proves just how selfless Angel has grown, and one that makes us hope the next season gives him a way happier ending. Oh yeah, and he also killed his dad, apparently. Not sure what that's about, but since Angel Dust is a mafia guy, I'm assuming there's a good explanation for that. Following Angel, we have his fellow loser, Husk. Husk goes on a bit of a roller coaster this season. He goes from encouraging Angel to do his best to be redeemed to berating Angel for risking his life to save his.
What was that? You could have got yourself killed!
Then he leaves the hotel for a while after Alistair's capture, falling back into his old bad habits until he sees Angel perform a song in drag. At Angel's request, Husk ultimately decides to return to the hotel and make amends with Angel. But when he and Cherry Bomb realize he's absent, they do everything they can to rescue him from Vox, risking their necks against Valentino and his Robo-Fizz to save Angel from his mind control. Earning a much higher spot than last season is Cherry Bomb. While she's still a chaotic bundle of explosive energy. Cherry's put in a lot of work to improve herself throughout the season. She decides to stay at the hotel and becomes good friends with the rest of the gang. Her most notable merit is helping save Angel Dust from Vox's mind control alongside Husk, but she does still lose a few points for her more reckless moments. Most notably, she threatens to blow up Baxter's lair if he doesn't spill all of his information about Pinchas. And even after Baxter relents and tells her, she still blows his lair up, which is kinda not cool. But helping kick Val's butt was extremely cool. Up next is Carmilla Carmine. While she places lower than she did last season, Carmilla is still a good person. It was clear from the get-go that she would do anything necessary to protect her family, but I gotta say, working with Vox was still a big surprise. In an attempt to protect her children at all costs, she agreed to build a weapon that could pierce heaven in return for the promise that she and her children would be protected. Upon realizing just how badly she screwed up by doing so, however, Carmilla ended up helping Vaggie destroy her creation, and helped the rest of the demons keep the exploding cannon from blowing everyone to smithereens. She did the right thing at the end of the day, and managed to protect her family without aiding a psychotic dictator, so credit where it's due. And nearing the end of this category is Sarah, arguably the character who had the most improvement from a moral standpoint. Although she was reasonably shocked by the sudden appearance of a sinner in heaven, she accepted Pinchas' story and the speaker's judgment that he was redeemed. We see throughout the season that Sarah is genuinely trying to become a better person, attempting to apologize to the sinners, keeping the vengeful loot in her place, and ultimately helping Charlie prove that redemption is possible. The pressure of being a seraphim weighs on her immensely, with so many souls in her hands, but one of her lines in the penultimate episode says it all. She wants to believe in the sinners, but she knows she has faith in Emily. And while preparing her people for war, she first gives Emily time to try and reason with Hell to prevent any more bloodshed. She still has some work to do if she's gonna land any higher, but for now, Sarah has at least cemented herself as one of the good guys. And just narrowly avoiding the gray area is none other than Hell's greatest dad himself, Lucifer Morningstar, who is more or less the same this season as he was last season in terms of morals. This Lucifer is a relatively nice guy, especially by Hell's standards. If nothing else, it's obvious that he loves his daughter. His biggest flaw, however, is his ego.
Hold the applause, please. Okay.
While the Pride Sinner medal was usurped from him this season, it's not due to his lack of trying. When Vaggie suggested that he intimidate Vox into backing down from his schemes in order to help save the hotel's reputation, it wasn't mere altruism that spurred Lucifer into action. It was the desire to prove himself better than Alistair. Then, when Vox insulted him to goad him into attacking, the world saw that Lucifer wasn't able to harm sinners, losing him most of his street cred. He didn't get the opportunity to do much good in this season, especially since he spent the final quarter as a battery. But we do acknowledge that his heart was in the right place, a fact that just barely prevents him from falling any lower. And with that, it's time for us to venture into neutral territory. This is the gray area. We've put off this guy long enough, so it's time to talk about everyone's favorite has-been character, Rooster. Sorry, what's that? Who's Rooster? Come on, you guys know Rooster. He's been there since the beginning, an iconic part of the main cast. Sure, he didn't take part in the final battle, but at least he was rooting for Charlie, so that's good. Alright, so let's talk about somebody a little more characterized, like Tom Trench. Emphasis on a little more characterized. Despite Katie having more screen time this season, Tom is still more or less sidelined. Anytime he is on screen, he's usually being abused by Katie for seemingly no reason. We feel bad for him, but while there's not much terrible to say about him, there isn't too much good to say either. He's kind of as close to a true neutral as this series has. Next is Zestiel, a man who prefers quality over quantity when it comes to screen time. Zestiel is one of the oldest overlords in Hell, and while he didn't get much more screen time in season 2, we did see more of his friendship with Carmilla Carmine. When she agrees to help Vox build his weapon to protect her family, Zestiel doesn't stop her, but instead leaves her side, promising that he'll return when she sees the light. He makes good on that word and helps her clean up the mess that the V's made, showing that he's a pretty honest guy, despite probably having a lot of blood on his hands, given how widely feared he is. But as feared as Zestiel may be, his name doesn't strike nearly as much fear into the hearts of demons as Nifty does in the hearts of bugs. Nifty is every bit as lovably twisted twisted as she was in season 1, and we love to see it. She's still concerningly enthusiastic about stabbing bugs, rats, and sometimes even people, but she's also just as loyal and helpful as always. She helped Alistair out against the V's, particularly Valentino, which earned her some brownie points with us. And in the season finale, she gladly took on the role of Baxter's bodyguard while he tries to hack into Vox's security system. We still wonder what goes on in that twisted little mind of hers, but whatever it is, it's not enough to land her any lower. She's unhinged, but she's also genuinely friendly, being the first hotel staff member to actually make a connection with Baxter. On that note, following Nifty is her patty cake partner Baxter. Making his debut as the most obvious red herring in the history of red herrings,
Some could classify me as a mad scientist.
Baxter was a former lab partner of Sir Pentious. He tended to lean a little more towards mad scientist than his buddy, and his cruel experiments led to Pentious taking the egg boys and slithering away. While Baxter does decide to stay at the hotel as a guest, it's initially just a science experiment, but as time goes on and the hotel staff folds his blankets at the exact angle he likes them folded at, he realizes that they're obviously best friends and decides to help them take down Vox. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty sudden heel turn, but it's better than nothing. And closing out our gray area is Lilith. Like in season 1, Lilith is barely a character in this season. Her role once again boils down to ignoring her daughter's calls and only being teased at the very end of the season. There isn't enough to really frame her as good or bad yet, since she's had like less than a minute of total screen time. That said, we wanted to mention her because, come on Vivzie, you're really gonna tease the audience with the exact same character for 2 season finales in a row? That's just mean. Lilith gets the Sloth Center Medal for being too lazy to even get involved in the plot yet. And with that, she narrowly avoids our last category. These characters are the bad and the evil, and kicking off this category is Rosie. Rosie was one of the characters who had the biggest upgrade this season. While she was portrayed as an actual friend of Alistair in season 1, it's revealed in season 2 that Rosie is the one who owns Alistair's soul. Man, I really suspected Nifty more than I did her, honestly. This reveals several things. 1, Alistair has no friends. Poor guy. And 2, Rosie definitely has some bigger plans in mind, since she was the one who made Alistair disappear for years and join Charlie's hotel. It's a mystery what Rosie wants from Alistair, but we highly doubt it's anything good. Tack on the whole mass cannibalism and possibly eating her own husband thing, and you have a girl who's earned her way to our bottom category. That said, she isn't all bad. She's at least polite to Alistair despite having him on her leash, and in the season finale, she finally agrees to fix Alistair's staff in return for him helping the other overlords save the Pride Ring. So game recognizes game, I guess. Next is Katie Killjoy, who hasn't really changed all that much since the pilot, except for her voice. Aside from that, she's still the same sleazy news anchor. She's openly bigoted, and she joins the V's smear campaign against the Hazbin Hotel, and even after all of the horrible stuff they pull, she does what she can to clean up Val and Velvet's public image. Miss Killjoy makes it pretty clear what she's all about. She just wants to follow whatever gets her money and fame, regardless of morals. In 5th place is Adam's second in command, Loot. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Loot gets the Wrath Center Medal. She doesn't get nearly as much screen time as we were hoping she would this season, but she makes it clear through every second she gets that her motives haven't changed. Loot wants nothing less than extermination of every sinner, not just due to her hatred for them, but because of her love for the fallen Adam. She even attempts to kill Vaggie just to get back at Charlie, and is only stopped when Abel stands up to her at the last moment. While it's clear that Loot has some serious issues, they don't justify her being an accomplice to genocide, and trying actively to get back to committing genocide. Narrowly missing out on the bottom 4, we have Velvet. While she's still the least evil of the V's, that still is not saying much. For starters, it's revealed through a musical number, of all things, that Velvet often recruits vulnerable sinners to the V's agency, to be trafficked by Val until their time in the spotlight runs out, then tossing them to the side. Velvet isn't just respectless, she's a straight-up predatory influencer who's responsible for luring numerous people into the V's traps. It's also revealed that she's the one who develops the drugs Valentino often uses on his victims, which makes her even worse. Velvet does have one good moment, but since she shares it with our bronze medalist of evil, let's move on to Valentino. Last time around, Valentino was our gold medal winner, but this time he's been usurped by 2, admittedly obvious characters if you've been been keeping track. Nothing about Val's morals have changed. He's still a predator and an abuser responsible for the suffering of countless sinners, and obviously worthy of the Lust Sinner Medal. The season does reveal that he's not the most evil of the V's, however. While Val did help Vox claw his way up to power, when Vox tried to blow up the Pride Ring just to get back at Alistair, even Val had enough, straight up ripping the guy's head off and helping Velvet stop the explosion. It wasn't as altruistic as he'd have you believe on the news, but it was at least technically a good deed. And he and Velvet do seem to actually care about each other. It's something, I guess, but it's only enough to keep him from the top two because our finalists are just that bad. Which brings us to Alistair, who takes the silver medal of evil. This season proved just why we absolutely love Alistair, both as a villain and a character in general. The first half paints him as this petty, hypocritical schmuck, despite mocking Vox for asking for help from the other overlords. Alistair himself got his powers from Rosie while he was still a human. In his life, Alistair was a radio star by day, but by night, a serial killer who seemingly targeted anyone who slighted him. Smart enough to know what awaited a man like him after death, he made contact with Hell to barter for power, stating that, in his own words,
I want to continue my fun.
Not only was it revealed that Alistair's power was all siphoned from others, but any thought that Alistair might genuinely care about the hotel staff just flew right out the window. Thankfully, Alistair made good on his promise of pulling all the strings from last season. In Curtain Call, Alistair reveals that he was playing Vox the entire time, offering himself as a prisoner in exchange for Vox not laying his hands on Charlie. Once Alistair gets Charlie to admit that Vox is the strongest sinner in Hell, cashing in on that one simple favor from last season, he frees himself from Rosie's contract since she failed to uphold her end of it. Then, when Vox touches Charlie's shoulder, laying hands on her, Alistair is freed of his deal with him, finally unleashing his full power against Vox. If nothing else, Alistair is honest. He's just also viciously deceptive, and managed to play everyone while tricking even plenty of us in the audience. There's no extent Alistair won't go to in order to secure his power, even blackmailing Rosie into repairing his staff, under the threat of letting the Pride Ring blow up if she refuses. Alistair's evil is finally ready to shine brighter than ever, and we can't wait to see it. But the gold medal of evil has to go to Vox. But first, this video is brought to you by WickedBinge channel memberships. You can gain access to our videos early before anyone else, plus get members-only emojis and loyalty badges by supporting the channel through a membership. This guy, man, like Alistair, we see that in his life, Vox was a TV star by day and a serial killer by night. The difference, well, Alistair, for all his evil, was actually talented. Vox, on the other hand, he essentially saw anyone who was ranked higher than him on his shows as a threat. None of them personally slighted him, and many even viewed him as friends. But Vox slaughtered all of them with no remorse, taking their place one by one until he was single-handedly running the media. Don't let that one flashback of him and Alistair garner any sympathy for him. Vox is as cold-hearted as they come. We're giving him the Envy Sinner Medal and the Greed Sinner Medal for his constant clawing for more power. But would you believe we've only scratched the surface of just how depraved this season reveals him to be? It's revealed that Vox, first off, is just as abusive to Angel Dust as Valentino is.
It's almost cute how you scream.
And not only that, he's been brainwashing Angel to use him as a makeshift spy. He gleefully tells Val that this move is going to make Charlie off herself, straight up laughing as he says it. He also constantly sidelines his friends, blackmails Carmilla into building a weapon to attack Heaven with, kidnaps Lucifer and siphons his power to use for his weapons that pierce Heaven, brainwashes the vast majority of Hell to do his bidding, and his worst deed of all, when all else fails and his weapon is about to explode, he decides to let it blow, even as he's told it will blow up everyone in the vicinity. Vox still goes with it just to get back at Alistair. This man is so selfish, cocky, and evil that he brought out the small sliver of good in Velvet and Valentino. I mean, Valentino.
You're obsessed with me.
I didn't even know there was any good to bring out. Vox is a monster even by Hell's standards, and that level of evil is maybe the one thing he succeeded at without any help from others. Enjoy being on a TV stand for the rest of eternity, Vox. You've earned it.